This is Hovey's Outdoor Adventures, and I'm talking to Scott Bartkowski of Living Shoreline Solutions from Dade County, Florida. Scott has come up with a very neat idea for the protection of onshore features, in particular shorelines and beaches. Scott, tell me a little bit about your product.
What we have is a wave attenuation device, which was originally designed as an offshore barrier reef system that would emulate a barrier reef, grow corals on it, and become a natural wave attenuation system that would break down wave energy to stop erosion and also naturally accrete sand on the beach.
People do want sand in front of their beach houses these days. Yeah. And they get sort of disappointed when the normal wave action sort of whisk it away and it ain't there no more. So, Scott, when did you get started on this thing?
Actually started back in 1997. We designed an artificial reef structure to make sure that it was going to be a productive structure, it was going to be stable and durable, and then we moved into the barrier reef design where we placed it offshore parallel to shore and let the wave energy transmit through the wad array and develop into corals, develop into a natural barrier reef, and watch the accretion begin on the beach.
Describe one of your structures. Now, I see now that you have several different designs, some are flatter profile than others.
Well, each wave attenuation device and barrier reef system is site-specifically designed for the wind and wave energy events that take place at that specific site, the bathymetric issues, 20-year, 100-year storm event. It's a concrete pyramid. It's arranged in an array in a double row. It's got designed tapered openings in it to act as basically a muffler that muffles the wave energy so that it kills wave energy and allows the sand to fall out of suspension on the beach.
So basically, if you think of a pyramid that's hollow with holes in it, and so material passes both over and through, but in the meantime it's retarded by all of the frictions caused by the standing concrete members. And you can put these up in multiple rows, so you could make it very wide indeed if you wish. Do you typically do just two structures wide?
Typically it's two structures wide, two rows of wads. If we go to a submerged structure where the aesthetics where a resort doesn't want to see anything above the waterline, we'll go to two double rows that'll be submerged below the surface of the water so you can't see anything, and that's a natural barrier reef system that you would typically see where it's not above the waterline.
Well, indeed, we come into some areas of habitat that are more critical than others. And I'm now here in southern Louisiana at the delta of the Mississippi River. And here we are losing marshlands at the rate of about a football field worth an hour. I mean, we need structures out there, and the aesthetics of it are not particularly important so long as they do the work. And in this case, it is very useful, in fact, to have your structure sticking above water level if the substrate will support it. Is that right?
That's correct. And we just finished a project over in Shark Island where the big issue was the geotechnical data that we had with the sediment where it would not support riprap. It would disappear every 3 or 4 years. We developed a structure that the load factors were minimal and that the structure is above water and will stay there for the next 20 years without being replaced.
Now, what we're talking about here is muck. And I mean, we're talking about boot-sucking muck. You can't walk in it. It'll pull your shoes off. Yeah. As a matter of fact, in some parts of the world, people with higher tides than this, people have actually been stuck in muck like this and drowned when they had 12 and 15-foot tides come over at high tide. Well, dangerous stuff. Now, here in the coastal Louisiana, where we just have little things like gators and skeeters to worry about and snakes, you don't have these great big high tides. The tidal range is sort of small, as a matter of fact. But when you have storm surge waves, really some serious things start happening. Now, how do these protect against storm surge?
Well, these specific structures that we designed for this application are going to be about 1.5 feet above mean high water, which is at high tide, they'll stick out about 1.5 feet, which is the elevation of what your marshland is. So with a storm surge coming in, these will actually be at the level that the marshland is at, so a storm surge won't affect it negatively and impact the marshland, so you won't get erosion. So they'll stick out above the water, above high tide, and protect the marshland even with a storm surge.
In short, yeah, if you want to protect marshlands, you got to get them sticking above the water. You sure do. Concerning your project, so you conceived of it some years ago. How did you actually get this thing to form a company and start to make some money from it?
Originally started out back in '97 with the artificial reef aspect of it, to design that, to verify the productivity, stability, and durability. Then we moved to the coastal aspect of it, which was to do the water array and the barrier reef system, and to study that, to model it, to put it out pilot project, have independent aspects be critiqued and studied and reports written about it. And then we moved to the final stage, which is where we are now, which is moving it forward in the marketplace.
At what stage did you go to patent?
Actually, we went to patent in the first stage. We knew what we had way back when, and we got a patent back in we applied for it in '98 and got it in 2001, and we've done several patent applications since then. And
then you also had to secure your trademark. When did that come down?
We secured our trademark about 4 years ago, to make sure that nobody confused wave attenuation device with any other product that was out there. And there's quite a bit of confusion.
Yes, sir, there was. And, believe it or not, somewhere along there, somebody has to get some money for initial development before you actually have a product to sell. How was that done?
Well, we actually did it with a group of partners, friends of mine from the 22 years in the Navy, put our finances together and started out with the research and development back in '97. And then we've pushed it along since then. We've made some revenue flow off of the artificial reef aspect. And then the coastal aspect, we actually went international because we didn't have to deal with the permit issues of 2.5, 3 years between revenue flows for projects here in the state, because things take forever. And then about 4 years ago, we came back to the States with 2 investors that wanted to move it forward in the state of Florida, and we've since expanded across the eastern seaboard and now through the southeast.
What is the nature of your company? Is it a corporation then?
Living Shoreline Solutions is a corporation.
And a privately held one at this stage, I would assume.
That is correct.
Now, how did you publicize and advertise your product?
Not much advertising. We did it through a lot of meetings, one-on-one with engineering firms, moved forward with some public entities to make sure that they understood what we had and what the capabilities were. Worked with the permitting agencies, the Army Corps of Engineers, the Natural Resource Division, the Fish and Wildlife, NOAA, those type of individuals, and let them look at the product and see how it works. And then we've gotten in through a bunch of engineering firms that have looked at the product.
Now, these objects are intrinsically heavy. Are they cast on site or near?
They are cast on site. What we'll do is we'll do a survey, design the system, model it, then we'll build the mold system itself. We'll ship that mold system on site. We use local labor, local materials, and local aspects to get the product manufactured on site and then deployed on site.
Then you use local bargers, contractors, and lifters to emplace your structures?
That's correct.
How fast can they go up?
Once we have started manufacturing, we can produce 2 units per day per mold. So we make usually 5 to 10 molds, so that'll give you anywhere from 10 to 20 units per day. And once we've manufactured for the project, we can put them on site, one every 3 to 4 minutes.
Well, that's pretty fast. So you're basically limited by your ability to barge the stuff to your materials so far as finishing a job.
That's correct, and the big issue is the bigger the unit is, the heavier it's going to be, the less you can put on a barge. The good aspect is that the units are hollow, so they're stackable. So their deck space is a lot smaller, so you can get a lot more units on site easier.
You do have, I see on your shirt, at least 3 or 4 different configurations. Some are flat-top pyramids, one's a sharp-top pyramid, and one is a more squat structure, I would assume, for different wave heights and different environmental conditions so far as the base settlements are concerned.
That's correct. We build a wad unit per site-specific design. So we look at the bathymetric issues, we look at the wind and wave energy, the 20 years, 100-year storm events. We'll model that into a CMS wave model, and then we'll come up with different configurations of the WAD and the WAD array for the client to address his objectives. He'll select or she'll select exactly what they want, and then we'll go to mold manufacturing and design, and then production of the actual unit and installation.
Now, how about critters? Do they like these things?
Absolutely. The initial start of this project was to develop the artificial reef aspect for the barrier reef design. So we evaluated the productivity and the stability of it. We had independent resources come in and look at it. And the concrete structures are a fantastic substrate for the attachment of corals and biomass. We've developed studies have been produced, that shown that we produce about a half a metric ton of marine biomass per square meter of surface area on these structures annually, so they're very productive.
Well, that's excellent indeed. Now, if a landowner decides that he would like to have something offshore to protect his beaches and to protect his property from coastal erosion, it is understandable that some permits would be required. And how does he go about doing all of that?
Once the client comes to us and has addressed the objectives of the project and his concerns, we'll go out and survey, we'll design and model the system, and then we'll provide all the documentation that's required to go into the permit application. To date, and we've been doing this for 17 years now, every application we've made has been approved, whether locally or internationally.
Well, that is certainly an excellent statement. Really, that seldom happens in the real world. So that's outstanding performance, sir. Well, thanks very much, and we really appreciated hearing about your living reef concept.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Photos and videos are provided by Living Shoreline Solutions and are used with permission. I am Hovey Smith, and I am best known for a series of outdoor books, including Backyard Deer Hunting, Crossbow Hunting, Practical Bow Fishing, and Extreme Muzzleloading. For more information on my books, blogs, and more than 350 videos, go to my website, www.hoveysmith.com. Good hunting and good eating from the outdoors. Goodbye, and God bless.